The sword is the axis of the world, and its power is absolute. Charles de Gaulle. With the confirmed return of the Bleach anime, it was the perfect time for my first Bleach themed series. Bleach, as a member of the Big Three, has always been pushed aside due to the cancellation of the anime, but we have to remember it was a part of the Big Three for a reason. The Soul Society, Oikomundo, and Fate Kara Town arcs are all some of the best art from our generation. While this is due to many pieces and aspects of the Bleach world, what I want to highlight today is a group of Arrancar known as the Espada. Each member of the Espada represented an aspect of death that was key to the very core of their being. That's the goal of this video. Based on the aspect of death that each Espada represents, I'll select an anime character that I feel does more justice to that aspect. The 10 aspects of death are as follows: greed, madness, euphoria, destruction, despair, nihilism, sacrifice, senescence, solitude, and finally, rage.
The second in line for this series is the 8th member, Octava Espada Yagami Light. Starting off strong, 2 all-time classics with Fullmetal Alchemist, Brotherhood, and Death Note. We're going to continue with the representative of madness, Yagami Light. Whereas both Light and L were psychopaths with sociopathic tendencies, none of the two are more representative of madness than Yagami Light, because Light's madness was just so infectious to the audience, and it made his speeches so electric that he had half of us agreeing with him in the end. His delusions of grandeur were displayed so perfectly, and it made him such a captivating character, and the series really displayed his descent into his own madness so beautifully. Like, the writing just leaves me in awe every time I rewatch it. In the very beginning though, Light had a monologue where he says, "This world is rotten, and those who are making it rot deserve to die. Someone has to do it, so why not me? Even if it means sacrificing my own mind and soul, it's worth it, because the world can't go on like this much longer." I wonder, what if someone else had picked up the book? Is there anyone out there other than me who'd be willing to eliminate the vermin of this world? If I don't do it, then who will? That's just it. There's no one, but I can do it. In fact, I'm the only one who can. I'll do it. Using the Death Note, I'll change the world. Just from that quote early on, we understand the insanity that is Yagami Light. He, from the very beginning, was ready to not only sacrifice his morals, but his sanity. It was in this quote where he convinces us and himself of his own flawed and deluded philosophy. Other hints of his insanity were given early on. For example, when he found out that somebody who touches the Death Note will be able to see Ryuk, but Ryuk also told him that they won't be able to go to heaven or hell. His first instinct was to hide it and burn it in the scenario where anyone could come into possible contact with it, not because he feared that his family would share the same unfortunate fate of an afterlife in purgatory, but because they would be able to see Ryuk. Early on in the anime, he displayed his willingness to kill his entire family heartlessly if they had found out. Although granted, he did seem to be a bit reluctant at first. However, as the show goes on, his madness grows and it seeps through the crack to the point where he would be comfortable with disposing of his entire family at will. His descent into his madness is what makes him my choice to represent the aspect of death. Our ability as a viewer to see his path, his spiral downwards, is what makes him such a great character, and Death Note such a classic series. Having Elder as a second psychopath to provide a foil to Light allowed us to see the critical clash in their philosophies. Subjective justice championed by Light, and objective justice championed by L. L was quite hypocritical in his own way, granted, but it was Light who played with fire without getting burned, so his mentality was far more dangerous. Although their duality portrayed throughout the series was absolutely brilliant, L being a person who uses insanity to establish ways of why rules are the way they are, and Light using his insanity to crumble all the systems that would be in his way. Without straying too far from the objective of this video, the reason his philosophy impacted the theme or the aspect of madness is because he got results. In the end, he brought violent crime down 70% or so in the years following, which just in sheer numbers alone outweighs the murders he committed. I personally don't enjoy the second portion of Death Note's story as nearly as much as I did the first 25 episodes, although what I did like it for is that it added a lot to Light's character. Particularly, what I enjoyed most was seeing the relationship with his family and especially with his father, Yagami Soichiro. Seeing how Light's madness grew and grew while also keeping up his facade to his friends and family was so intriguing. His actions were so jarringly different from his thoughts, and it was impressive for him to maintain that portrayal. When it all comes to a close and all the bricks come tumbling down, where Light was finally defeated and his true colors came out, that laugh, that blood-curdling laugh, it encompassed the true meaning of madness and made him deserving of the Octava Espada spot. My favorite interaction in that scene was when his quote-unquote friend, Matsuda, was left in shock and disbelief when he realized that the villain they had been fighting all along was none other than Light. When Matsuda asked him about his father, frustrated about how Light could let his own family die in a war of his own creation, and instead of recognizing his father as family, Light was stunned for a second, still in his mind believing himself to be a god above all. He had to think about who Matsuda was talking about. Then he stopped for a second and said, "Oh, you mean Yagami Soichiro." His madness had become so blinding that he couldn't even recognize the bonds to his family that he once had. He sacrificed his own sanity for the world and descended into a state of madness characterized by outrageous delusions of grandeur. So, was he justified? Were his actions acceptable as a human being? Did his delusions of grandeur make him a worse person or a more fitting person to save the world? That's the beauty of Death Note. You decide. It is your own perspective that will carry you to your own conclusion. The story doesn't provide an answer. Surely he loses in the end, but his message was received. Of course, it was so impactful on not only his world, but ours. Thank you for watching this video. If you enjoyed the video, feel free to check out other videos in this series and from my channel. Also feel free to check out the Moontails Anime Podcast, where me and a group of friends discuss anime as we watch them, and just anything that's on our mind at the time. Farewell, everyone.
この世には2種類の魂魄がある。一つはプラスと呼ばれる通常の霊。貴様が普段目にしている幽霊だ。そして今一つがフォローと呼ばれ、聖者、死者の別なくを襲って魂を食らう。いわゆる悪霊だ。ここまでで何か質問はあるか？
とりあえずお前の絵が異常に下手な理由から聞こうが。ああ！何しやがる！説明を続けるぞ、バロン閣下。